The Pittsburgh Steelers secondary had a terrible night against the Cincinnati Bengals on Thursday. But that's not what the Steelers' defensive captain pointed to when placing blame for the 33-31 loss. Instead, Hayward somewhat defended the Pittsburgh secondary. The 36-year-old was highly critical of the team's defensive front, particularly the defensive line, for allowing the Bengals to rush for a season-high 142 yards. "It's not the secondary. That's a cop-out," Hayward said via ESPN's Brooke Pryor. "I think the front line, we got to control the line of scrimmage a lot better. I'm pissed off. We didn't take care of our job. They were last in rushing, and the way we gave it up today, that takes the cake." The Steelers have now allowed at least 115 rushing yards in 4 of 6 games this season. "We got to stop the expletive run," Hayward added. "That's as simple as that." The Bengals didn't have more than 85 rushing yards in any game this season before Thursday. They eclipsed that mark in the first half versus the Steelers' front. Other Steelers share Cameron Hayward's feelings on run defense. All the rushing statistics indicated the Bengals had a poor running game in the first 6 weeks. But Cincinnati came alive on the ground in Week 7. While quarterback Joe Flaco is getting all the headlines, and rightfully so, the Steelers are pointing to their issues in run defense as the main defensive problem from Thursday. "We just weren't doing what we've been doing," Steelers linebacker Patrick Queen said via Pryor. "We weren't being physical, we weren't maintaining our gap. Everybody just got a job, and they just got to stick to that job. Starting with me, I got to be better. I had 2 chances to make a play, didn't make the plays, and it turned into a big run, so I just got to get better. It's that simple." Bengals running back Chase Brown only had 11 carries. But he rushed for 108 yards, posting 9.8 yards per attempt. A large portion of those yards came in the first quarters. "The first half, we allowed them to run the ball too much," Tomlin told reporters in his post-game press conference. "I think they had about 100 yards rushing at the half, and then we turned the ball over a couple times. So that just set a negative trajectory, and we're fighting uphill the rest of the way." Steelers' run defense takes significant step back. The Pittsburgh defensive line struggled against the run in early September. In their defense, the Steelers faced a couple very athletic running quarterbacks, including Justin Fields, who tore up the Pittsburgh front. Over the past 2 weeks, the Steelers did a much better job stopping the run. They yielded an average of 67.5 rushing yards per game in the prior 2 contests. But one has to wonder if the Steelers' run defense is actually getting better after the poor showing Thursday. Pittsburgh has now allowed about 116 rushing yards per game this season. If they can't stop the run, Hayward and company won't be able to rush the passer, which is what the Steelers' defensive line does best. The Steelers will face a much more difficult run offense in Week 8. The Green Bay Packers enter this weekend ranked 12th in rushing yards and 5th in rushing touchdowns. The Pittsburgh Steelers entering the game on Thursday night had a 4-1 record, and the Cincinnati Bengals were on a 4-game losing streak. Pittsburgh's defense has problems covering wide receiver Ja'Marr Chase all game long, and they did not get after quarterback Joe Flaco. Cincinnati took down the Steelers by a final score of 33-31. With the win for the Bengals, they improved to 3-4 on the season, and Pittsburgh drops to 4-2 on the season. This was a bad loss for this team. Aaron Rodgers played great, but the defense let them down. A lot of fans were not thrilled with head coach Mike Tomlin or defensive coordinator Teryl Austin for that matter. Pittsburgh Steelers fans want defensive coordinator Teryl Austin fired after loss against the Cincinnati Bengals. Many Steelers fans are upset that the defense struggled against the Bengals. They want the defensive coordinator fired. Pittsburgh's defense has not played so well this season. This is what some fans said on Twitter. "Fire Teryl Austin into the sun. Worst defensive coordinator in the history of the sport. It's embarrassing for the entire organization that he's still here with the same soft zone coverage that hasn't worked in 3 years despite having the most talented defense in the league. When will there be accountability? Fire the defensive coordinator. It's every week they don't play a 1-5 team, they look terrible, and the head coach should be on the hot seat too. Seems whenever he needs to win he can't, and it's been that way his entire tenure. Get him out. Fire Teryl Austin. This defense has too much talent to be this bad. My condolences to Aaron that the year he comes to town we don't have a competent defense at all." The Steelers' defense will be battle-tested once again when Week 8 rolls around. They will be back at home against the Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love is a much better quarterback than Flaco is. There is no doubt that our concerns about Pittsburgh's defense as the 2025 NFL season marches on. Joe Flaco has given his thoughts on Mike Tomlin's verdict on the Cleveland Browns' decision to trade the veteran quarterback after he helped the Cincinnati Bengals beat the Pittsburgh Steelers on Thursday night. Last week, the Browns sent veteran Joe Flaco to the Bengals shortly after benching him in favor of rookie Dillon Gabriel. Cleveland is struggling through another rebuilding year, holding a 1-5 record. It was a decision that baffled Steelers head coach Tomlin, with Pittsburgh, Bengals, and Browns all sharing the AFC North Division with the Baltimore Ravens. To be honest, it was shocking to me, Tomlin said days before his Steelers took on Flaco's Bengals. Browns general manager, Andrew Berry, must be a lot smarter than me or us, because it doesn't make sense to me to trade a quarterback that you think enough of to make your opening day starter to a division opponent that's hurting in that area. But that's just my personal feelings. Flaco went on to roll back the years against the Steelers and put on a clinic against another fellow veteran NFL quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. The Bengals ran out 33-31 winners in an action-packed Thursday night football with Flaco, 342 yards, 3 touchdowns, and Rodgers, 249 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, throwing for a combined 591 yards and 7 touchdowns. Flaco found Bengals star receiver Ja'Marr Chase 16 times for 161 yards and a touchdown. After the game, Flaco addressed Steelers head coach Tomlin's shock at the Browns' decision to trade him, citing their many battles down the years. Listen, I have so much respect for Mike and the battles that we've had, in Pittsburgh and Baltimore, Flaco said. I played him last year in Indianapolis. I always find a way to play them. I love playing them, and I didn't really feel that way to begin with. I didn't love going into Heinz Field and, my rookie year, they beat us 3 times. But those games against those guys, like in my career, those games have been different than others, and just the physicality and the energy. Mike's been doing it so long and has those guys ready to play every single week for so long now. Nothing but respect for him and, how he gets those guys ready, and I love going against them. And, when I look back on it all, it's the wins and the losses. I love all the games. Honestly, when I tell stories, a lot of the great stories come from some of the losses and the bad games you had. And with him, and with them, there's plenty of those.